Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are a bit late, I'm very sorry. But as this is the most interesting session this afternoon, for sure, I know you're here and you're going to pardon us for this short delay. I mean, we have really fantastic speakers this afternoon. We have speakers from 3 continents. We have 3 kind of different stakeholders here with us, and we have 2 lighthouse projects from Horizon 2020 Smart Cities program, and this is really, I mean, a great pleasure. So our first speaker is Barbara Möhlendick. Okay, thank you very much. Coming from Cologne, City of Cologne. She's a director of Smart City Cologne and also climate protection coordinator. So, Barbara, please, floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be back in Barcelona Twin City, and I'm going to explain the smart city process in my city, the beautiful city of Cologne, and also the smart district development we do as a lighthouse project at the moment. Cologne is a city about 1 million inhabitants, and we got 500,000 commuters, so you can imagine it's a challenge. The reason why did we go for a smart city project? Why did the mayor and our energy company produce that project? We have a demographic development and we expect 20% more people by 2030. So we don't want to repeat what happened in the 60s and 70s. We deal with those problems at the moment. We want to produce something more sustainable for the growth. We also have a very good analysis of climate change and impact in Cologne. So we have a lot of bad weather impacts. Last year, for example, there was a devastating storm and rain that caused also mortal people, people dying, sorry for that. And of course, we also will have rising temperatures, and the heat island effect produces temperatures that can be 8 degrees even higher within the city center. And we are convinced, Cologne is convinced, that we can't reach the climate goals if we don't use smart technologies. That's the reason why we started with this project. And we believe a smart city must be able to function. So we need to have investments in the traditional infrastructure, but also in the new infrastructure like IT infrastructure. We offer Smart City to our companies and organizations as a platform, so they are more visible there. They can show their products. We put smart videos on that platform, and the mayor and the deputies mayors, of course, talk about those projects. So it's good public relation for them. And in the beginning, it started all 4 years ago, we invited all the smart and climate-friendly initiatives to the Milky Way of Smart City, so we would be more visible for the world and also for people that could give money to support climate projects and smart projects in Cologne. And that was the first strategy, just to be more visible, just to bundle all the good projects towards Smart City. And the targets of our strategy are the renewable energies, the climate protection. We also look into electric mobility and alternative fueled vehicles, and of course all kinds of smart technologies that makes life easier for our citizens. And energy saving is one of the big topics, because that has also important economic impact for our city and citizens. The organizational structure is the mayor is leading the project, and we have also an advisory committee made by the 12 biggest companies and our universities. And we have started out 4 years ago with just 5 projects. Now we have much more than 30 all over the city area in Cologne. Just to give an idea, for example, we have efficient tires. We have a cooperation with Lanxess and our city departments. It's the so-called green tire. They have less roll resistance. You save money and you also save CO2 on those. And we are changing our fleets to the green tire. It's a little bit more expensive, but the effect is great. And we also have shore power for our boats, because Cologne gets many tourist boats. It gets big cargo boats, and we need to work on our air quality and, by the way, also on the CO2 balance. So we put smart power grids all over the city. And just to name another project, we also test innovative fuel cells with our citizens. We offer that and we give some extra money because the technology is still too expensive. Another project is European funded, it's Celsius. We use the heat or wastewater to cool our schools and our kindergartens, or to heat our schools and kindergartens. And one very important project, I think that's the topic of the session, is to explain the new technologies to our citizens. And so we have a climate street where we invite our companies to pilot smart technologies and to display them in that special climate street. So the mayor and the energy company invite very often to this street to explain the smart technologies, and they hope for deployment then of LED, smart home, smart office, and smart heating systems. So the Smart City District, finally, after all this piloting of projects, the mayor said, I want an integrated project, I want a blueprint for a smart city development. So we gathered Stockholm and Barcelona and Cologne as cities, and we applied for in the Horizon program for European funding for the 3 cities to develop a smart district in each of the cities. We also have some very strong follower cities like Porto, like Valletta, like Graz, like Suceava, and Cork. It's also twin city of Cologne. And, well, the most important thing was to develop a vision together with the citizens. We started in our administration and produced a first vision. What could a smart city look like in the field of energy, city planning, mobility, and much more other fields? And with this plan that we made in our administration, we went to multipliers, to big companies, and we extended this vision. And finally, every year now we invite the citizens to work with us on the vision. And we also worked with the citizens on the smart city vision for this Grow Smarter project. And the blueprint is in this area, it's on the right side of the Rhine, and I think it's very interesting not only to focus on that district, but see the relation to the surrounding projects. So this area is very interesting because we have 2 harbor developments. We have a new staircase where you can look at the cathedral and at the historic city. We have developments for the university, for the TÜV Rheinland, and also for the Expo city there. So that's interesting to focus on the surrounding projects to have a mobility solution for the whole area. What are we doing in detail? Just to give you some of the modules. Of course, we do the energetic refurbishment. We introduce photovoltaics on the roofs so the tenants can have produce their own energy, and everything is bound into a smart grid and a virtual power plant, also with electric batteries to manage the system. For the mobility, where's the timing? Oh, over there. 1 minute left? Okay. For the mobility, it's mobility hubs. We want people that get to Cologne offer the whole range of alternatives to the private vehicle, and that's what we do in the mobility hubs. And we also use alternative fueled vehicles. That's what a mobility hub looks like in Cologne. And the last chapter is the integrated infrastructure. We produce an open data platform because we can manage our city much better if we have all the information on energy consumption, energy production, mobility, and we have a sensor rollout to have higher quality of this information. So the integrated project should be a blueprint for more districts in Cologne. And finally, we also look in the into the social dimension of a smart city. Next week, we have a big meeting with the tenants, and we want to co-create. This is just a framework of technical measures, but we want to co-develop with the tenants a lot of additional measures to make them feel it's their own project to produce ownership. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Barbara, for this nice presentation. Our next speaker is Mr. Jean Rottner, coming from Mulhouse, from France. Jean is mayor of Mulhouse from 2010, so second term, and he's also leading the digital committee of French Association of Mayors. So please, Jean, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, but I speak in French. It's better for you. Je suis très heureux d'être aujourd'hui à Barcelone pour vous parler de cette transition énergétique qui nous est chère à Mulhouse parce que c'est un enjeu. C'est un enjeu de performance économique et d'innovation et de richesses qui sont dégagées grâce à cette dynamique. C'est une responsabilité environnementale également qui est quelque chose d'extrêmement fort. C'est enfin un amortisseur social avec le développement d'un reste à vivre qui est bien meilleur pour notre ville et pour nos habitants. Et enfin, et c'est essentiel, c'est aujourd'hui un enjeu pour aménager notre ville. Mulhouse, depuis de nombreuses années, est une expérience qui se dégage maintenant depuis environ une dizaine d'années en matière de transition énergétique. C'est depuis maintenant quelques mois une nouvelle dynamique engagée et c'est cela que je vais vous présenter. Il y a une cinquantaine d'années, Mulhouse, c'était cela. Aujourd'hui, Mulhouse, c'est plutôt ceci. C'est une ville qu'on appelait la Manchester française. C'est une ville également, vous voyez la différence, qui nécessite effectivement qu'on s'attache à travailler cette transition énergétique. Aujourd'hui, ce sont des paysages urbains qui viennent confronter à la fois les anciens bâtiments aux bâtiments les plus modernes. Et ces anciens bâtiments sont paradoxalement peut-être beaucoup plus protecteurs pour le développement durable que les bâtiments d'il y a 50 ans. Alors nous avons choisi de prendre et de mettre plusieurs costumes, plusieurs combinaisons, parce que le développement durable, ce n'est pas forcément un trajet, c'est souvent plusieurs trajets et la combinaison doit être différente. Nous sommes partis naturellement quelque part d'une page blanche et nous avons décidé de l'écrire ensemble pour aller vers quelque chose de différent, vers le futur, en pensant différemment, en changeant finalement nos manières de voir. Première sensibilisation que nous avons faite de manière très forte, c'est vis-à-vis de notre population. Ce qu'on appelle la climat box, c'est 2000 personnes, 2000 familles qui l'ont acheté, avec un apprentissage à l'intérieur qui permet de s'éduquer au développement durable. Nous avons de même essayé de sensibiliser nos familles dans un défi familial à l'énergie positive. Nous avons mis en place des appartements pédagogiques. Nous avons même nommé des ambassadeurs du développement durable. En allant plus loin, nous avons, comme chaque ville aujourd'hui dans le monde, développé naturellement ces écoquartiers qui sont indispensables, qui sont nécessaires, mais qui ne sont plus suffisants. Aujourd'hui, c'est le gaz vert, c'est la vapeur verte dans le logement individuel, dans le logement collectif, mais également dans le développement industriel, tout particulièrement d'ailleurs avec nos amis allemands qui ne sont pas loin de chez nous. C'est également dans les transports, cela a été dit par l'orateur précédente, nous avons là une navette électrique gratuite pour notre centre-ville, nous avons développé le tram-train, nous avons des bennes de ramassage des ordures ménagères hybrides. Toutes ces nouvelles manières de se comporter en ville dans les transports sont bien présentes. Enfin, nous avons aussi un passé industriel extrêmement fort, comme à Manchester, avec de fantastiques friches, dont celle-ci par exemple, qui sera transformée en cité de l'innovation, permettant la transformation digitale de notre industrie. Cela ne suffit pas. Nous en mesurons bien les enjeux et nous mesurons surtout la nécessité d'évoluer, de progresser. Et nous avons décidé de ressortir notre boîte à outils, de garder le courage, même si parfois c'est difficile, bien même quand on a la tête sous l'eau, il faut garder une forme de punch dans ce domaine-là. Il faut également prendre en considération les habitudes de vie profondément différentes de tous nos habitants. Il faut enfin leur faire confiance. Très souvent, nos techniciens nous font de bons plans, de belles perspectives, mais il n'y a rien de mieux que l'intelligence de nos concitoyens. Ils ont des idées qui sont nombreuses, qui sont multiples. Il faut savoir là aussi casser des organisations SEO pour faire appel à la créativité. Et enfin, nous arrivons petit à petit à définir 4 objectifs aujourd'hui qui nous semblent particulièrement prioritaires. Celui d'abord pour nos concitoyens de devenir acteurs de leur consommation. Cela se traduit par la mise en place de plateformes de services publics de l'efficacité énergétique. Le service public doit se mettre au service de ses concitoyens pour mieux consommer, pour mieux apprendre dans une vision pédagogique. Enfin, les nouvelles technologies et tout particulièrement les compteurs intelligents nous permettent aujourd'hui d'avoir une forme de logique multifluide où toutes les informations reviennent au consommateur qui est en capacité, lui, de faire ses choix. Entre son compteur d'eau, entre son compteur électrique, entre son compteur de gaz, c'est lui qui doit être en capacité de gérer sa consommation, de prendre ses décisions, voire de se comparer à ses concitoyens. Un élément important, c'est celui naturellement de la mobilité dans nos villes. Et nous avons décidé de passer en France d'autorités qui organisent les transports à des autorités qui organisent les mobilités. C'est profondément différent. Cela veut dire que dans toutes les mobilités, eh bien, il y a nécessité de les rassembler, de les mettre au service de nos concitoyens dans ce que nous appelons par exemple le pass mobilité. L'idée est toute simple. Je consomme la mobilité, j'ai la possibilité de l'utiliser comme je le souhaite et c'est a posteriori que je paye mon déplacement. Pas a priori, mais a posteriori. Et plus je me déplace de manière intermodale, bien plus, là aussi, les facilités me sont offertes. Enfin, naturellement, nous réfléchissons aussi à la fluidification de nos circulations, à notre parking intelligent. Je vous rappelle que 30% de la circulation dans une grande ville, c'est une circulation de destination à la recherche d'une place de parking. Notre objectif, c'est de la faire diminuer au maximum. Avant-dernier élément et priorité pour nous, c'est celui de la maintenance. Les maires sont toujours très fiers de construire. Il est plus difficile pour un maire de dire qu'il va assurer avant la construction la maintenance du passé, qu'il va assurer la maintenance de l'éclairage public. C'est moins porteur, il y a moins d'électeurs qui y sont sensibles, mais quand on voit ces bâtiments-là, il y a une vraie nécessité de porter une attention à la maintenance quotidienne de notre patrimoine. Ça coûte beaucoup plus cher de réhabiliter un bâtiment de ce type-là 100 ans après, plutôt que de l'entretenir de manière efficace tout au long de sa vie. Enfin, dernier élément, un maire, une ville, face aux data, face à la problématique de toutes les remontées d'informations qui arrivent aujourd'hui, c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement important. Nos concitoyens demandent de la transparence, demandent de l'efficacité. Les services publics nécessitent aussi d'avoir une forme de retour qualité sur leurs propres expériences, leur propre savoir-faire. Et je crois qu'aujourd'hui, un maire, en tout cas, ne peut pas se priver d'un dashboard efficace, quotidien, qui lui permette, avec discernement, efficacité et clairvoyance, d'assurer les décisions politiques qui permettent d'être efficientes. Et la seule ambition pour ma ville, c'est au milieu de Paris ou au milieu de New York, c'est peut-être de renaître de ses cendres, de connaître, après avoir connu une épopée industrielle extrêmement forte, et bien là aussi, grâce au développement durable, de recréer de la valeur, de recréer de la richesse et finalement de permettre aux gens qui la composent de faire pleinement cité et d'être dans une ville bienveillante à leur égard. Je vous remercie.
Thanks, Jean, for this really encouraging presentation and really nice vision about your city. New generation of mayors are coming, and this is great. Continuing with this, we have here with us Carlos Eduardo Correa Escaf, alcalde de Monteria, de Colombia, que el año 2014 ha sido nominado el mejor alcalde del mundo, nada menos, por la Fundación de Alcaldes Internacional. Carlos, por favor.
La presentación. Bueno, muy buenas tardes a todos. Hoy, brevemente, en 10 minutos, contarles un poco la experiencia de mi ciudad, de Monteria, pero antes contarles un poco por qué vamos a mostrar este caso de Monteria de cara al río Sinú. La gran mayoría de ciudades del mundo han nacido en medio de ríos, ciudades intermedias, ciudades capitales, y nace un gran interrogante, y es por qué también la gran mayoría de ciudades del mundo le ha dado la espalda a sus ríos a lo largo de los años. Y aquí en España vemos casos como Bilbao, como Madrid, que poco a poco a lo largo de los años le dieron la espalda a sus ríos y se fueron consolidando en otros puntos de la ciudad. Pues Monteria no fue ajena a eso, y en el mes de abril del año 2015 hicimos el primer foro global de ciudades con río. Tuvimos allá alrededor de 30 especialistas, alcaldes de ciudades de Europa, de Asia, de Sudamérica, tuvimos investigadores, tuvimos organizaciones también mundiales, hablando de la importancia de retomar nuevamente los ríos en el mundo. Y hoy quiero contarles un poco Monteria cómo ha venido haciendo este proceso. Monteria es una ciudad de 500.000 habitantes en Colombia. Yo soy el alcalde de la ciudad de Monteria. Tiene un área de 320.000 hectáreas, de las cuales solamente el 3% de su territorio es urbano. Somos una población muy rural y, como vemos ahí, del año 2005 al 2015 ya hoy tenemos el 80% de la población concentrada en la ciudad, en la zona urbana. Se dice que al 2050 estará el 75% de la población en zonas urbanas. Ya Monteria tiene el 80%. Y esto ha sido por una gran cantidad de procesos, de migraciones, de desplazamiento, por la violencia, por muchos de los puntos críticos que ha tenido nuestro país a lo largo de este tiempo. Monteria la atraviesa también un río, el río Sinú, y la divide en dos. La margen derecha o el lado derecho y el lado izquierdo. La parte superior, como pueden ver arriba, es la parte que se ha venido desarrollando muchísimo más, que fue creciendo. El lado izquierdo se fue quedando poco a poco sin servicios en la medida que fue creciendo la ciudad. La longitud es de 415 kilómetros es el tercer río de Colombia e irriga 16 municipios de todo el departamento. Monteria es la capital y es una de esas ciudades por donde pasa el río Sinú. Y es el tercer valle más fértil del mundo, considerado, después del Nilo, el Tigris y el Éufrates. Esta era nuestra ciudad en el año 1920, una ciudad que le daba la cara completamente al río, llegaban las embarcaciones, habían casinos, habían hoteles, llegaban hidroaviones, toda la vida de la ciudad dependía y giraba en torno al río Sinú en 1920, pero poco a poco fue evolucionando, la ciudad se olvidó que tenía un río, fuimos teniendo carreteras, autopistas, aeropuertos y la ciudad se volcó totalmente de espalda al río hacia otros puntos de la ciudad. Y esa zona que veían ahí de grandes embarcaciones, de espacio público, poco a poco fue invadida por la indigencia, inseguridad, y esto era lo que pasaba en el 90, en el 80. Luego los mercados, las plazas de mercado, que también vemos en muchísimas ciudades acá en Europa, que las plazas de mercado han ido poco a poco recuperándose, pues Monteria también tenía un gran problema con la invasión del espacio público en las plazas de mercado, problemas de salud pública, ahí vemos lo que teníamos hasta el año 2000. En el año 2000 comenzamos una etapa de recuperación de las avenidas con un gran parque lineal, el Parque Ronda del Sinú, y ahí podemos ver que ya hay un inicio de recuperación del parque, pero aún el río todavía no retoma la importancia. Espacio público, la gente a los alrededores del río, pero todavía el contacto con el río es muy bajo y es lo que venimos buscando poco a poco a lo largo de este plan de desarrollo urbanístico. Esto es nuestra ciudad, están cordialmente invitados también, pueden disfrutar el espacio público, ven las iguanas, los micos, los animales en su hábitat a lo largo de nuestro parque. Y poco a poco hemos venido recuperándolo. Esto era del 2002 al 2008, 2008-2010, hasta que llegamos alrededor de 3 kilómetros de parque lineal y hoy pues llegamos a plantear un proyecto que es el gran parque ecoturístico de la Ronda del Sinú, donde el río es el eje del desarrollo territorial. Aquí con problemas enormes, voy a ir pasando un poco, me quedan 5 minutos, con problemas enormes que teníamos de saneamiento básico, muy baja cobertura, alcantarillado prácticamente al 50% de la ciudad, todas las aguas servidas iban al río Sinú, toda la basura de esos mercados iba al río, alrededor de 180 kilos de basura y de residuos orgánicos diarios iban al río. Vemos que había un déficit de vivienda enorme y por las mismas migraciones y el desplazamiento, prácticamente el 18% de la ciudad estaba ilegal o sin titular, o como conocemos las famosas favelas. Toda esa gente que llegó a lo largo de 15 años, ¿llegó a dónde? A situarse a las orillas de los ríos y de las montañas, que era donde tenían saneamiento. Entonces teníamos un déficit de vivienda bastante alto y muy poco espacio público por habitante. Hoy pues vamos avanzando muchísimo y hemos, a través de la vivienda y de la construcción de la vivienda, un mejor planeamiento territorial que ahora les voy a mostrar. Nuestra estrategia, visión de largo plazo, consolidación de una ciudad a los próximos 20 años. Entramos al programa de ciudades sostenibles, que aquí están también del BID presentando algunos proyectos, y con Findeter, que ha sido la banca de inversión colombiana que nos ha venido apoyando en todo este tema. Comenzamos a trabajar en el desarrollo del río. Primer punto, construcción de un muelle o embarcadero. No habían embarcaciones en el río. Este primer muelle fue el detonante del río. Prácticamente nos ayudó a que nuevamente se recuperara el transporte y la movilidad. Aquí vemos ya que después del muelle comenzó a suceder algo diferente. La gente comenzó a darse cuenta que teníamos un río que estaba sucio, que había que cuidarlo, que había que limpiarlo. Las fiestas, llamémoslo patronales de nuestra ciudad, las volcamos al río, las cambiamos y las pasamos de ser las fiestas populares a las fiestas del río Sinú, donde se desarrollan todas ahí. Conciertos en la mitad del río. Los primeros conciertos fueron con unos españoles, precisamente con elementos reciclables. Juanes hizo el lanzamiento de su gira el año pasado en la mitad del río Sinú también. Esto es un tema de conexión de la gente con el río, pensando en la sostenibilidad, no solamente ambiental, sino también urbana y social. Hoy hemos encontrado un elemento que nos conecta y definitivamente es el río Sinú. Toda la actividad cultural está girando en torno al río. Ahí podemos ver, este fue el River City Global Forum en el mes de abril, alrededor de 2.000 visitantes interesados en ver qué es lo que está pasando con los ríos. Aquí, después del mercado que les mostré, comenzamos un trabajo con la Universidad de Viena y fuera la recuperación y diseño urbanístico del centro histórico, ahí donde llegaban las embarcaciones que pudieron ver. Comenzamos a trabajar. Hoy ya prácticamente se ha consolidado el diseño de la infraestructura que queremos nuevamente de la ciudad y esto es lo que hemos venido diseñando. Aquí prácticamente pueden ver que estas eran las invasiones del mercado el año pasado, el 10 de agosto del año 2014, 315 familias, vendedores informales que llevaban sus desechos al río. Luego, 10 días después, recuperación de espacio público, construcción del nuevo puerto o centro histórico, el mercado que ven ahí, que es la plaza de mercado de los 4 patios, nuevamente va a retomar su vocación inicial. Toda la gente que estaba ahí la pasamos a un mercado campesino temporal para que pudiera ir trabajando mientras construíamos el nuevo mercado, que es este, y que ya, pues aquí pueden ver una foto un poco reciente de la construcción del nuevo mercado donde van a ir esas 350 familias. Mercado de los 4 patios, recuperación patrimonial que está en curso en este momento. Y todos los artesanos y los artistas de la ciudad van a ir también a las orillas del río. 50 segundos. Bueno, parques en el lado izquierdo y el lado derecho. Construcción de una sede de la alcaldía o del ayuntamiento del otro lado del río. Teníamos un problema de inclusión. La ciudad se quería dividir en 2 municipios y con este proyecto hoy estamos dándole muchísima más inclusión a la gente de la margen izquierda. Se está construyendo una nueva sede, se inicia el parque lineal también ahí y se construye el primer puente peatonal para que la gente pueda conectarse de un lado a otro. Un puente peatonal con ciclorruta que va a unir las 2 márgenes, que va a unir a Monteria, que va a convertirla en una sola ciudad. Ahí podemos ver el puente que está en este momento en construcción. Y temas de movilidad sostenible, como vemos ahí el plan de ciclorrutas, 32 kilómetros de unión de ciclorrutas, como eje de desarrollo y de conectividad, el río también. El plan, el sistema de bicicletas públicas que iniciamos también hace un par de meses. Y veía algo ahora en Colonia que es las energías renovables y sostenibles, donde ya estamos llegando a las instituciones educativas y las embarcaciones que cruzan de un lado a otro también con energía. Esto es un poco lo que quería mostrarles aquí en desarrollo y organización del territorio. 5.600 familias que vivían en las riberas del río y de los caños, como ven ahí, han sido reorganizadas, así vivían, hoy así viven. Y eso nos ha permitido reorganización del territorio, pensando un poco en la construcción de una nueva ciudad de cara al río. Estos son los indicadores finales a los que llegamos y podemos ver con la recuperación, llegada y cobertura de alcantarillado, agua potable, reubicación de viviendas, legalización de las viviendas y del territorio, podemos ver que saltamos casi en estos 2 años, en la medida que se fue construyendo, 14 puntos de pobreza y la tasa de desempleo hoy es la más baja en Colombia con el 7.7%. Así que el medio ambiente, el espacio público, la vivienda definitivamente impactan los indicadores sociales de una forma muy efectiva. Y nuestra premisa es desde Monteria la que muchas deberíamos tener en el mundo, que son las ciudades que tienen río, es devolverle el río a la ciudad y la ciudad a la gente. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Carlos, por esta presentación. Yeah, okay, no problem. Our next speaker is Bharati Chaturvedi, coming from India. Bharati is director of Chintan Environmental Research and Action Group. She's also a columnist in one of the important newspapers in India and works close together with problems or challenges in informal sector. So, Bharati, the floor is yours.
Why is this not starting? Do you know that? How did you start yours? Yeah, I think this is, we're good. Great. So I'm actually going to talk, I belong to a non-profit in India. I'm going to really talk about the part about co-creating. And particularly because waste and the circular economy is something that we're all struggling with globally, I thought I would focus on that and share some of my experiences in India, although a lot of the work we do is also based on experiences in other parts of the world of other non-profits. So India generates all this waste, 60 million tons every year, and 3% of our 3% of the greenhouse gases are directly a result of the waste that we're generating. And about 50% of this can be composted, 20% of it is recycled, but most of it is still dumped in open dumps or basic landfills. So we're facing an environmental crisis on one hand. There's waste in the water, there's greenhouse gases, it pollutes the air when it burns, and there's a cost of health. On the other hand, you have over 2 million really, really poor women and men who are picking this trash out and separating it. So they're picking out paper and plastic and cartons and metal and selling it into a really rich recycling chain. And we find that they're actually reducing greenhouse gases. There are studies to show that they're actually very effective. On the other hand, they're also feeding into a circular economy. And, but their work is really hazardous, as you can see. Touching the waste is not segregated, flies everywhere, dog bites. And a lot of people, not only in India, but everywhere else, find them, criminalize them. They consider them people who are thieves and people who should not belong to mainstream society. And, yet they feed into a circular economy. This is a GIZ waste report that came out a few years ago. If you look at all these cities in Bangladesh, in Nepal, in India, obviously, and in Quezon City in the Philippines, if you look at it, you can see that most of the informal sector, most of the recovery is of valuable items is informal sector. So what I mean to say is that there's a very important role that they are playing in saving resources and fighting climate change. They also save a lot of money because they work locally, and they also save a lot of other kinds of resources. So the point is, what do we do? So let me tell you a little bit about what we do in our nonprofit, Chintan. We say that if we can, our logic is that if we can help the informal sector train it up to give proper waste management services, then there's a win-win situation. So converting waste into livelihoods for these marginal waste pickers will produce cleaner cities. And our model is like this. We say, how do you get illiterate, poor people to be co-creators of a proper local neighborhood or a local ward or district? So you have to organize them. There is no shortcut to organizing people who are in the informal sector. In fact, 92% of all jobs in India are in the informal sector. So you organize them so that they're able to work, to be trained to get good livelihoods. There's another big problem, which is of child labor in all of this. So you work to getting the children into schools. And then you provide those livelihoods, and finally you do advocacy, because that's the best way to scale up an idea. And you look at changing policy, and finally you can get the kind of city, the kind of smart city which uses human capital just as much as it uses other kinds of assets. So here's the kind of social security that we're involved with. Here you can look at the I-cards that the municipalities and Chintan provide to these people, because remember, as informal sector actors, they are not allowed access to gated communities, and they're also not recognized as people. They also have to pay bribes to the police because they say, who are you? Maybe you're criminals. Here is access to waste, and this is really one of my favorite slides, because what you're looking at here looks really old-fashioned, but it's actually a lot of innovation. Because on one hand, these are these women who've been trained. On the second hand, what you're looking at is a kind of a conveyor belt, but it's not a conveyor belt because we found that the conveyor belt was not working in India. It was half the time we didn't have electricity, half the time the wet waste would get stuck and it was very difficult to repair. So this is not a conveyor belt that moves, but the way that the women work, each one organizes one type of waste in the bucket and sends it ahead. So you actually have a localized conveyor belt that is a kind of process innovation. And the waste itself comes from one of the biggest and most well-known luxury hotel brands, whom they trade with. They don't take it for free, but they actually buy it and sell it and trade this waste. And so the really important point is how do you co-create something sustainable without, in recycling, if you don't have access to waste? This is the opposite problem in a lot of the developed world, where you actually have a lot of the waste and you don't have the waste pickers or the scavengers or the catadores who are looking for the waste. So here we are trying to always create a channel, and we're now setting up an online marketplace where people in gated communities can access waste recyclers and give them their waste, not just this kind of waste, but electronic waste, which is extremely, extremely hazardous. One of the other things we're doing as part of co-creation is actually quality control, because authorization in our cities, we need permissions to do all this work. So quality control becomes extremely important if we have to compete in the marketplace with larger companies, if the poor have to have a place in the market. And we're also very engaged with the public, because the public and offices and hotels and malls are marketplaces for the poor, for the waste pickers. And we have to engage with them. This is some of the work we've been doing with them on electronic waste. And in fact, we've just got announced as the winners for the UN Momentum of Change Award for our work with informal sector and electronic waste. But then there's the child labor problem. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? So we've actually been pulling children off the landfills and helping them go to school. Our current batch is 2,115 children, 64% girls. And we're hoping that as the adults get more livelihoods, we're able to get children into schools. Of course, there's advocacy and research, which is all built on the work that we do at the grassroots. So our organization, one part of us, it's like two heads. One part of us does organizing and livelihoods, and the other part looks at the data and develops policy outcomes and research and tries to tell that story in various spaces. So I'm going to leave with a couple of final thoughts. I think co-creation itself cannot take place if we don't have some kind of equitable inclusion, because some actors are just too disempowered and too marginal to actually be part of a process without an incredible investment in building their capacity to talk, to have a place at the head table, to have voice, as well as building public capacity and policymaker capacity to listen to them. And finally, I think I want to point out that this is actually a kind of reality, not just in India, but actually in a huge amount of the global south, whether you look at Brazil, whether you look at Thailand, whether you look at Pakistan, Nepal, it doesn't matter. So when we talk of a majority of the world's population co-creating a sustainable neighborhood, it's important to remember that a lot of the transformation is actually local. The smart cityness of a city is actually local, from the district, from the neighborhood. But it's also very much propelled by the poor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bharati. Our next speaker is Steve Turner. Steve is coming from Manchester. He's actually head of Manchester Future Cities in the City Council of Manchester. Please, another lighthouse city with a nice smart city project in Horizon 2020 scheme.
On this? Magic. That's called collaboration. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to talk about the approach in Manchester around a specific project, another lighthouse project called Triangulum. But before I do that, I'd like to give it a little bit of context in terms of why we entered that project and why we entered the competition to get the funding from a Manchester perspective, and take you through a little bit of a quick journey, if I may, in terms of what we've been doing around collaboration. So, why is Manchester looking at the smart city agenda and what are we doing? Well, for all cities, I guess, we're in an increasing global environment. We have to compete to survive, just like businesses do. And for us, there's two things. One is we need to grow our city in an economic way, see business growth, but better lives for citizens. But there's also the other challenge about reform. There's less money in the public sector. We need to reform our public services such that we save money and make things more efficient. There's two twin pillars there. The second is our approach, and I really liked Bharati's work she's doing there in Delhi, and this for us is very important in terms of that user-centric design, co-designing at the grassroots level. No single organisation or entity, I think, can claim to be able to run a smart city district. It has got to be about collaboration. And the third point really is we can't do everything across the whole city at once. We need to identify specific areas in districts where we can deploy, pilot a few things, prototype some stuff, but recognising that at some point we need to replicate this at commercial level across all of our cities. So when we talk about consortia building and collaboration, for us in Manchester it's about building on some of our grassroots local partners, some of the skills and expertise that they have, but equally engaging with, guys like Cisco, global leaders who bring something to the party, so to speak, and are possibly in a better place to access the marketplace, the global marketplace, which, as we all know, we've heard not a lot of, is increasingly about China and, of course, India. So a little bit on Manchester, which is hopefully a little bit more than just football and music. Very quick slide in terms of the economy of Manchester. It's the single largest economy in the UK outside London and the South East. Across the whole conurbation, the metropolitan area, 2.7 million residents. And last year we were kind of moving from what was an industrial legacy. Manchester's often described as the world's first industrial city. We've had to completely reprofile our economy such that now we're looking at advanced manufacturing, high-tech, nearly 18,000 startups in the last year, of which 5,000 were in the tech sector. I talked earlier about the importance to us of an ecosystem approach, and I guess that's another way of talking about collaboration and co-design with key people in the city. But before I do that, a lot of people put a quote up, don't they, these presentations. Cedric Price was an eminent British architect in the 1960s, and in the 1960s he was one of the first people to see that technology would revolutionise how we used our cities, how we worked in them, how we played in them. But he also asked a very critical question, really, which was, if technology was the answer, what was the question that we're actually asking ourselves? And I think that's incredibly important, increasingly important, that we have thoughts, we talk to people and understand what is it we're trying to do in our cities around growth and reform that technology can help support us with, as opposed to technology being the be-all and answer for everything. Like many cities, you've heard from Cologne, for us it's about integrating a range of city systems, putting people at the heart of that design, but it is about integrating transport, it's about looking at the health and social care agenda, it's about looking at energy and environment, and the importance as well of the cultural aspects of our cities and the role that the public realm plays. The challenge, of course, with all of these is that many of these different assets aren't owned by the City Council, they're owned by other entities, private sector, universities, limited companies, regulated authorities. So the challenge is often not a technology one, it's a governance one. How do we get those entities to work towards the same goal, albeit in different ways, such that it's around contributing towards the growth and the reform of the city? So it's about the importance of culture and public realm and the way that plays in people's life. How can people access the sorts of assets that we have, the festivals, all those exciting things that make cities such vibrant places in a smarter way? How do we intervene in terms of our ageing population to ensure that people live healthier, more active lives? How do we move about our city, and increasingly in a global, internationalised market, what's the visitor experience to our cities? For those of you who landed at Manchester Airport, I pity you, it's not particularly great. And then fourthly, perhaps around some of the energy and environment aspects, equally important in terms of the challenges that represents, in terms of, yes, providing power and heat to our citizens such that we can drive economic growth, but increasingly, of course, in a way that reduces our reliance on fossil fuels. Our particular lighthouse project is focused on this area called the Manchester-Oxford Road Corridor. It hosts two of the largest UK universities. We've seen £3 billion investment in that corridor in sterling over the last 5 years. It employs 60,000 people, generates 21% of the GVA of the city. So it's a very, very important area for us in Manchester, but for the UK as a whole, in terms of rebalancing the economy. And with 2 universities and 75,000 students, it makes absolute sense for that to become Manchester's innovation district, and hence the location of this project, which is our triangulum element. I won't go through this in detail, but essentially looking at 3 different areas in that map in the Oxford Road. 2 of them are universities, the light blue and the purple one, where we've already installed smart grids, and we're seeking to connect a range of buildings to those grids. The pink or vermilion or red ones are around the installation of a new heat network around the civic quarter, which includes linking into the town hall, exhibition centre, hotels, etc., etc. So as well as deploying new energy generation assets, we're looking at energy storage as well as demand side in a smarter way. The other challenge here is that yellow line you see running north to south is the Oxford Road, and it has the dubious credential of being the busiest bus route in Europe, which presents massive challenges in terms of a cyclist, me, in terms of air quality and the actual penetration of that area. The partners in the Oxford Road, the universities, ourselves as City Council and the private sector, made a decision in 2008 to remove all private cars from that corridor, 3 kilometres in length, which, while great for the environment and great for the sort of public realm experience, will obviously present challenges in terms of how those institutions move packages and parcels and logistics. So one thing we're looking to do is deploy a range of electric vehicles, and I include bikes in that sector, linked to those 2 smart grids to start to deliver packages and parcels around that area. One of the critical things, I think, for all of the lighthouse projects is of course engagement with people, and we've already heard those sort of citizen-centric designs, but people. And it wasn't Cedric Price that said this, but people are the greatest innovators in our cities. That's where the ideas come from. You heard from Delhi, that's where the ideas came from around in terms of the recycling. And the engagement with people will surely generate new thoughts, new ideas, and how we do that. And increasingly, we're looking to do that. How do we connect our communities in terms of some of the platforms and in user-centric design approaches that we urgently need to do? What will success look like? Well, I think let's put it into economic, social, and environmental spheres. Number of startups in terms of economic will be 1. Social, people more connected, connecting communities to services. And environmental in terms of reduced carbon emissions and air quality. We're looking at a range of organisations. This is just a few of the organisations we've been working with in terms of our Internet of Things UK City bid. And really, that's sort of the slide I'd like to end on, if I may, is really smart cities for us in Manchester is not about a single organisation. It's genuinely about collaboration. It's genuinely about co-design, because that's how innovation happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks. And our last speaker for this session is Damian Wagner, coming from Fraunhofer Institute. Industrial engineering. So Damian is coordinator for Smart Cities, and please explain us your experience about lighthouse projects.
Very good. It's a pleasure to be here. We'll slightly change the perspective. We've heard a lot of excellent projects today. What's put on the ground. I just came from Sabadell, which calls itself the Manchester of Spain. Also one of the follower cities of one of the big projects we are managing, and I would like to focus on the replication of those solutions, of which many are out there, no doubt. Fraunhofer, as you all know, one of the world's leading applied research institutes, about 20,000 people working on technologies you know and those you don't know yet. One focus of our institute in Stuttgart, urban systems, smart cities, and we're also involved in the new smart cities round in one of the new 5 projects of the SCC1. One of the main issues we are dealing with, you're dealing with, everybody's dealing with on different levels is really digitalization. And this is a very common picture a couple of years ago, not too long. And today, of course, a lot of smartphones, a lot of connectivity, digitalization. I'm very glad I don't see too many smartphones right now. It's a good sign, but there's no question that especially cities and all the stakeholders, they have to deal now with a multisectoral change throughout the sectors. They have an increasing rate of change, which is a lot faster. Life cycles are a lot faster than before. And sectors which used to be kind of on a vertically, suddenly you need a horizontal approach to deal with them, which is a big challenge for cities in particular. But it's not only about technologies, and that's what was mentioned before, and you all know, it's about us as well, the citizens. And, you know, some of you might remember the life as it used to be, childhood, teenage, family, career, and retirement, you know. And if you look at lives today, you know, you have the childhood, teenage, then you have a career phase, your first family, maybe to pick up another job, then you have rush hour, family 2. Restart again, second, third, fourth career, maybe you have a third family, and your golden age, of course, and then you restart again. So it's at very fast pace. And this is something technology displays as well, and this is something, of course, our environment has to deal with as well. And this is kind of what Triangulum, beyond technology, of course, is dealing with as well. And I'm just briefly introducing is one of 3 smart city and community projects. The first call budget is about 30 million, 25 of them are from the Horizon 2020. Big consortia, one of the smaller ones, 22 institutions and organizations, which is coordinated by Fraunhofer and Steinbeis. And say the main objective is to demonstrate technologies, projects, which is happening as we just saw in Manchester, in Eindhoven and Stavanger, and this is what I'm going to focus on a little more, to replicate those solutions or parts of them to the follower cities, Prague, the Manchester of Spain, and Leipzig. So of course there's always the emphasis on technology, energy, mobility, ICT as a cross-cutting technology, and to integrate all this and kind of integrate it in the city system. I think there's no question about this. But in the end, and we've seen this before, and this is also part of the session, of course, is that smart city really comes down to the development of livable smart districts. So sometimes politicians say we need the smart city, everything, solution for everything. It's not going to be like this. We always have to focus on districts. And this is what we have in Triangulum. I will not go into further detail. In Eindhoven, former Philips headquarters managed to transform this old industrial site into a smart site with a lot of startups, services for startups, which pretty much everybody talks about. They've done it. Actually, a construction company, one of the biggest ones in the Netherlands, is now providing services for startups, cheap room for startups as well. I think one of the issues all cities have to deal with in all countries is really to transform those old industrial sites and to move towards services. Another one is the social housing districts. One of the main focus there is really to get the data through digital tools from the people in order to refurbish and apply energy efficiency. Stavanger in Norway, say one of the capitals of e-cars, as one of the highest densities of e-cars, energy city of Norway. What I really like is that they have, for example, one utility that has managed to have this transformation towards a energy a service provider and now for the first time generated more profits from internet and data services than from selling electricity. I think we just heard about Manchester. And what I really would briefly go into is the follower cities, which is the cities we try to replicate these solutions and even more solutions. Since there's a big agenda, as in all cities, the European Commission likes to move us towards the strategic funds, of course, away from grants towards funds and bankability. And in order to achieve that, it is very crucial, and that's one of the focus of our project and unique selling points to after demonstration, impact assessment, to have a replication framework, a standardization kind of process to replicate it to the 3 follower cities and of course other cities as well. So I think this is one of the unique selling points of Triangulum, and in order to achieve that, there is on-site assessments in each city, interviews to listen to the city, very valuable information coming out from that, data platforms, big challenge on a European level, on a city level, and on a project level, since it is very difficult to link those data platforms, and the question how to collect, process, manage, and who owns this data is one of the big questions. And in the end, after this is a 5-year project, after a couple of years we'll have Smart City framework and an ICT architecture which addresses the kind of cross-cutting technology ICT. And I will not go into more detail into this, but as I said, there's no one solution for smart cities, of course. So our approach is really to go into more detail, to go into models within energy, within mobility, etc., and to have a social technical unit where we assess the technology and the stakeholders, to have this citizen element in there, and the guys who actually have to use the technology and the solution in the end. And with this approach, like breaking down the solution will impact, will assess the impacts which will take place in the lighthouse cities in order to put them and transfer them to the follower cities, which is of course an ongoing process, which is one of the reasons I can't really go into more detail at this point. All the cities will be assessed through on-site assessments, interviews. All of you who work in city councils know there's a lot of discussions, a lot of emotions in there, but if you get to a point where you can actually put a solid data and decision basis in there through assessments, through data, it is much easier to move on with the solutions and projects. Big consorts in all the projects, which is one of the characters, I think, of all the smart city, sustainable city, however you want to call it, projects. And this is kind of something that challenges the cities a lot as well, since they don't think vertically anymore. They have to deal with all this horizontally. So the role of cities will be quite crucial as well, and it has been managed before. Today's smart cities really have to be powerful engines to some extent, and they need to be the coalition managers of these projects, of the projects you're going to put on the ground. And I think that's one of the major challenges, including governance, which cities are facing today. I think I made it in time. There will be more discussions next week at our Fraunhofer conference in Berlin, and kind of the city labs is something we have been doing within Fraunhofer over the last years, accessing to much more detail cities all over Europe, and we're going global with this to get more detail and to get master plans for the cities of tomorrow. And first time I'm really early. I would like to finish and leave 30 seconds more for the question and answer session then.
Thank you very much, Damien. Thanks to all our speakers to being very sharp, really, and keeping up with time. So we have a couple of minutes for comments or questions from the audience. So if there is any question or comment, I invite you to just to pick up the mic and to raise the question. Well, a very shy audience, because I would say that we have really great interventions this afternoon. from really wide scope of approaches, from informal economy up to reprofiling economy in Manchester, talking about people, talking about technology. I'm very glad for not hearing too much about exclusively technology. Even Cedric Price quote was really very good one. If the technology is the answer, what is the question actually? But I would say that our panel focused more on probably more on this kind of cooperation and citizen-centric approach, and not so much about just exclusively data and big data, because data is not same what is knowledge. There is several steps in between which we need still to cope, also including, of course, citizens and people. So if there is no really any additional question, any comment probably from the floor? Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for our audience. And keep in track, working hard in our new smart districts. Thank you very much.